Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion, and in this video I'll be previewing tomorrow's World Cup clash between India and Bangladesh. Starting off with Bangladesh, they won their first game against Afghanistan but have lost their next two games. And on the loss against England, like I'd said in the video where I previewed that game, bowling first in Dharamshala was the correct decision. Unfortunately, if their seamers hadn't picked up a wicket or two in the first 12 to 15 overs of that innings, which they didn't, then the English openers got set, and the top three meant that England got to 360 odd. Bangladesh, it was going to be tough for them to chase that score down. However, bowling first was the correct decision. And against New Zealand, yes, Cameron Williamson is injured unfortunately, but at the toss, I don't know why he won the toss and chose to bowl. It gave Bangladesh an opportunity. They didn't make use of it, and even in the second innings, a few chances didn't go to hand of kind of a one-handed efforts. And Darryl Mitchell's first ball, I think it went for six over a long off where the fielder was in place. So there were a few opportunities for Bangladesh in the second innings. Unfortunately, things didn't go their way. And yes, you could say an 8-wicket win. However, especially in the first half of the innings, things looked a bit nervy for New Zealand. And had the opportunities gone to hand, it could have been a different story. So I wouldn't say Bangladesh have played badly in the last two games. It's just that since they didn't take their opportunities, and in the second game I thought they were a bit unlucky towards the start of the innings, then unfortunately things didn't work out. Shakib Al Hasan may not be available to play this game, and with what he offers at both bat and bowl, it would be a huge blow to Bangladesh's chances going into this game if he isn't available. And I've said this before, but looking at this Bangladesh top four, without Shakib in the side, excluding the Netherlands, I think they have the weakest top four if you look at the other 9 teams in the tournament. And not only with what he offers at the bat, but in terms of him and Mehdi Hasan Miraz playing together in the same top 7, you've got 20 overs there in the top 7. And at times they could afford to play another batsman at 8. In this case, without Shakib Al Hasan there, an already fragile batting lineup would take a bit of a hit. And you could play Nasul Mahmood at 8, who can bat at 8 and offer some left-arm off spin. But even then, I don't think that would add to the batting by any means. And secondly, I feel already on a surface where there won't be much purchase for the spinners. Then if even Shakib Al Hasan would have to use his experience to bowl on this kind of a surface, how would Nasul Mahmood, who's relatively inexperienced, go would have to do? So I've got 2 11s with the same personnel, and this is without Shakib Al Hasan on the side. And towards the end of me previewing the game from Bangladesh's point of view, I'll be discussing the 11 with Shakib Al Hasan on the side. So I've gone it Tanzid Hasan and Litan Das to open the batting, and Mehdi Hasan Miraz at 3 and Najmul Hossain Shanto at 4. He's slated as the vice captain in the side, so I've got him down to lead the side here. Mushfiqur Rahim 5, Tawheed Ridoy 6, Maudullah Riyad 7, Nasul Ahmed 8, Shariful Islam at 9, Taskin Ahmed at 10, and Mustafizur Rahman at 11. And starting from the top, in a previous video, you would have heard me say that Litan Das should bat at 4 or 5 in the side, considering the way he looks to go about things. And I'd said out of the 4 difficult fixtures, the especially difficult fixtures of Bangladesh in this campaign, he scored 76 against England, yes, but you've got India and Australia in Pune and South Africa in Mumbai. So considering the assistance for the seamers early on, would you think with the way he looks to go about things that he'd survive too long against quality bowling in those conditions? Maybe not, and especially with the way he got out against New Zealand in their previous game for a golden duck. So I think, and you saw in that game he tried to go for a shot as well. So that's why I had him batting at 4 or 5 usually. However, in the absence of Shakib Al Hasan, you've got a Tanzid Hasan who looked good in the 2 warm-up games but hasn't done as much in the first 3 games in the campaign thus far. They're going to have to back him because they've got no one else. And Najmul Hossain Shanto scored 59 against Afghanistan and then 2 fails in the last 2 games. So with both those 2 being inexperienced, if you've got Mehdi Hasan Miraz opening the batting, which he can do, but if you've got Tanzid Hasan and Najmul Hossain Shanto being dismissed, then that's 2 wickets gone, maybe even in the power play. And it would be the case where the experienced players in Mushfiqur Rahim, Litan Das and Maudullah Riyad will have to be averting a crisis rather than making sure the crisis doesn't take place to begin with. If Litan Das opens the batting and will have to use his experience, you've got Mehdi Hasan Miraz at number 3 who provides that solidity, and the inexperienced Najmul Hossain Shanto who's been good this year, but I feel him walking out slightly later against an Indian attack in these conditions would be much better served than him walking out at 3, potentially being dismissed. And you've got Mushfiqur Rahim and Litan Das who have to do the rescue act rather than avert the crisis in the first place. The finishing core would be Mushfiqur Rahim, Tawheed Hridoy, and Mahmudullah Riyad. And I got Nasir Ahmed at number 8 because in the absence of Shakib Al Hasan and India have got a top 6 full of right-handers, he would be of good effect there. And on his batting, he scored a 44 against India in the recent Asia Cup game. Do I think it's ideal to have him batting at 8? I don't know, but I also don't think so because one, I haven't seen him bat too much. And secondly, I feel especially when you've got a case where even in the top 7, you don't know what the inexperienced Tanjeed Hassan and Najmul Hussain Shanto are going to do. You don't know what even Litan Das is going to do, and you don't know what Tawheed Hridoy is going to do. So those are 4 uncertainties in the top 7 itself. Combined with an uncertainty at number 8 with the bat, you don't know how things will go. And in terms of the seamers, you've got Shariful Islam, Taskin Ahmed, Mustafizur Rahman, who in the first 3 games haven't been at their best, you'd think, as a collective. And those 3 are going to have to go here, where the seamers do far better than the spinners. In terms of the highest wicket takers, it's dominated by seamers when playing at this venue. And in terms of what Bangladesh should do, I feel they should win the toss. If they win the toss, they should look to bat first. Now, in 7 ODIs played at this venue, the team batting first is 1-4, the team batting second is 1-3. But in terms of characteristics from batting first and batting second, there isn't too much of a difference. And the problem for Bangladesh is that, one, I feel they've got to win the toss and look to bat first. And if they do, I think it would be playing into India's hands, like it would be mentioning when I preview the things from an Indian point of view. And secondly, if they have to bowl first and India score about a 300 and something score, does this batting lineup have the goods to chase that kind of a score against that Indian attack? I don't know, and I probably don't think so. So, especially without Shakib Al Hasan in the side, things look quite fragile for them. They're losing out on 10 bankable overs from the spin bowling side as well. Nasir Ahmed is a good bowler, but on this surface, spinners would struggle. I'll say that even for the experienced Ravindra Jadeja and Kuldeep Yadav from the Indian side, so Nasir Ahmed, I don't know how it would go on the surface. If Shakib Al Hasan were to be available for this game, Tanjeed Hassan and Mehdi Hassan Miraz would open the batting with Najmul Hussain Shanto at 3 and Shakib Al Hasan at 4, and Litan Das 5, Mushfiqur Rahim 6. And I think in this case, where if you've got 2 players in the top 7 who can bowl 10 overs in Shakib Al Hasan and Mehdi Hassan Miraz, albeit it will be tougher for them this game, especially Mehdi Hassan Miraz this game, than it would be on other services considering the lack of purchase for spinners at this venue. But you've got the 3 seamers there, so they could look to bolster their batting with Hridoy at 7 and Mahmudullah Riyad at number 8. And I think in this case where, yes, you've got the top 3, but at this venue, the middle order is quite important in how they go in getting that 300 plus score. If you've got a 4, 5, 6 of Shakib Al Hasan, Litan Das and Mushfiqur Rahim, it's a gamble whether the top 3 will be able to get through things or not, and I'd still say Tanjeed Hassan and Najmul Hussain Shanto with their experience, you don't know how they're going to do that. But if they can lose a maximum of 1 wicket in the first 10 overs, then you've got a 3 after that, and a Tawheed Hridoy as well who can take advantage, and you've got Mahmudullah Riyad at 8. So you've got 4 of the experienced players there batting from number 3 to number 8, and Hridoy, if you set a platform for him, he can back himself. So with Shakib Al Hasan in the side, their chances get boosted significantly. However, even with that boost, I think it'll be depending on how the other players around him and around that experienced core go. Because, like I said, they could find themselves in a situation where whether they're bowling first or batting first, where if the top 3 or 2 of the top 3 are dismissed in the hurry, it puts pressure on the others, especially against the Indian attack. On India, a dominant win against Pakistan by 7 wickets in their previous game, and 3 dominant wins thus far to start this campaign off. I don't think there'll be any change in the top 6, and from number 7 or 8, depends on who you play, then there may be that one slot that there are 3 options to go with. If they go with who they went with in the previous game in Shardul Thakur, he bowled 2 overs in the previous game, and even against Afghanistan, yes, he bowled 6 overs, but they don't back into bowl when the partnership is blossoming, even though they've brought him in as that the player with the golden arm to take wickets when things are going tough. If they do play him, since he's known to be expensive, if the Bangladesh batting side get off to some kind of a decent start and then capitalize with the middle phase, Shardul Thakur, who's usually expensive, how would he go on this surface? I don't know. And it's a case where if you're only going to bowl 5 bowlers, and if Shardul Thakur would mostly only bowl 2 overs, then what you could do is bring in Suryakumar Yadav to bat at 7, like I suggested in the previous video, if you're only going to bowl those 5 bowlers. Now, in that case, you've got a case where, yes, Bumrah would bowl on any surface, but Mohammad Siraj, like I've said a couple of videos ago, has a bit of a temper, and if he goes for runs early on a good batting surface, how would he go? He bounced back against Pakistan after not starting well, and he got 2 vital wickets, so he may bounce back, but we don't know. You've got Kuldeep Yadav, who looked to be the wicket-taking threat on a surface that does not have much purchase for the spinners. If he goes for runs, then have you got that bowler Ravindra Jadeja who can be an attacking threat, especially on this surface? I don't think you have. Hardik Pandya, if they start hitting him from early on, you've got a case where Bumrah is the only bankable outlet with a ball, and you haven't got anyone else if you play Suryakumar Yadav instead of Shardul Thakur. Now, in terms of playing Ravichandran Ashwin, again, I wouldn't mind him playing on any surface, and unlike Ravindra Jadeja and Kuldeep Yadav, you could attribute a trait to Ravichandran Ashwin that he could adapt to bowling on any surface, and even on this surface, I'm sure with all the tricks that he's got, he could still go relatively unscathed. And if you're not going to play Ravichandran Ashwin or Suryakumar Yadav, in my view, you should look to play Mohammad Shami, who, against the Bangladesh batting lineup, who have got, I think, their precariousness going to this game. If you've got Shami, Bumrah, Mohammad Siraj, and if India look to bowl first, which I think they should do, and they look to rattle the Bangladesh side early, if they lose a couple of wickets early on, there's already a lot of pressure on the players to come, and I just feel if India make use of the assistance early on, then Shami, Bumrah, Siraj may be too much of a combination for the Bangladesh batting lineup. And so, in terms of the 3 players that could play in that number 7-8 row, I think it should only be between Ashwin and Shami. I don't even mind if they play. If they don't play Ashwin, I think they've got to play Shami, because if they play Shardul Thakur and he goes for runs on the surface, he does not add to the bowling, the bankable bowling that I've mentioned here. And I think generally that if Bangladesh manage to get through the first few overs and then set things up, whether they're batting first or batting second, India have got that problem to deal with. And especially with the death bowling as well, apart from Jatheep Umran, you've got Mohammad Siraj, who struggled against Afghanistan and generally hasn't been great at the death, and you've got Hardik Pandya, who's a bit touch and go at the death. So I think there'll be a lot of pressure on Bumrah this game, especially if they don't play an extra seamer or an extra frontline bowler in Shami or Ashwin and go with the 3-seam bowling option. So there's nothing to change about the batting. It's probably the best batting lineup in this tournament. And you've got the top 7 where they've all got a double gear. Jadeja hasn't had to bat thus far, but I'm sure he's got performances in him where he can step up when the team needs him to. So I think that top 7 is very good and it should not be changed. The only cases whether they play, I think, Suryakumar Yadav, Mohammad Shami or Ashwin. I don't mind if they play either one of Ashwin or Shami. And if they really do want to, they could play Suryakumar Yadav. But I just feel Shardul Thakur is not going to add to the bowling in this team. You're going to be afraid to bowl him if, pretend Mushfiqur Rahim goes on his way. Would you bowl Shardul Thakur then on a good batting track? It's considering you're afraid to bowl him against Afghanistan on that Delhi surface. I don't know, so that's the only thing on them. So for this Indian side, whether they select well, I think that would help them a lot. You've got cases even in the past where they've left out key players and that hasn't helped them. I think they are the overwhelming favourites to win this game, and like I said, if they bowl first, it's a case where they'd still do well batting first, but I think the game could finish earlier if India do bowl first, considering the fragilities in the Bangladesh batting. So let's see how this game goes. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, share it with your friends, remember, this is my opinion.